Hi guys, welcome back to yet another episode. In case you're new here, my name is Shalomeli, and this is the Make It Easy podcast. And this platform generally is to just discuss about the intricacies of life and try to unpack everything relating to us young people, one conversation at a time. And as we said, everything is doable. You just need to find a way to do it. So today we have a very amazing guest who's doing great things in Africa and beyond. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Ziyaan. So, hi Ziyaan, how are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are you feeling today?
Super excited to be here on the Make It Easy podcast and have this conversation.
Wow, karibu sana.
Sn2.
Alright, so tell us, who is Ziyaan? What does Ziyaan do? Where is Ziyaan from? Just give us an action about who you really are.
For sure. So, I know that's a loaded question, and I can talk 40 minutes about who I am, but I'm Ziyaan. I was born and raised in Tanzania. And right now, I am an entrepreneur, I'm a speaker, and I'm really on a mission to think about how is it that we can inspire young people to start their leadership journey today. I was born in Tanzania, grew up in a family and a community of strong values of service and giving back from a very early age. My parents involved me in everything from scouts to going to the orphanage every weekend to volunteering at the mosque to playing football and piano. But slowly as I started growing up, I was honestly losing that. And I got carried away, and it never really came from within until I moved to Mombasa when I was 15. I actually went to the Khan Academy, which is not too far. Exactly. And I spent 4 years of high school at a boarding school there. And that was sort of a big pivotal moment in my life where I really, found my purpose, and it was a great experience. So I will leave it at that point to sort of continue this conversation.
We'll get to that. So today's conversation is about leaving a mark. And I think the reason why I chose this episode with this particular discussion with you particularly, I was going through what you do and the things that you've done, and I just started thinking that leaving a mark can be thought of like something big. When you tell someone leave a mark, you feel like you need to be Nelson Mandela or like some big person. But in real sense, leaving a mark just means doing something small in whatever capacity you can, and just making sure you touch, even if it's one life. Yeah. So with that in mind, what do you understand by leaving a mark? What comes into your mind when you hear leave a mark?
I think, as you say, leaving a mark can be seen as, you have to be the next Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi or Malala or Greta Thunberg of the world. But you don't have to be that. Leaving a mark is really thinking about how is it that you can live a life of purpose, a life where you can leave a legacy. And that doesn't have to be, starting a whole organization, a whole company, or a major podcast. It can be as simple as in your family, or it can be as simple as people in your community, right? And when you start doing that, you start seeing ripple effects, and without even realizing, changing the world can be as simple as changing one single person's life. And I think I've sort of lived by that principle throughout, and everything that I do, including having this conversation, is all directed towards that.
Okay. And do you think that there's something or one pivotal moment at the top of your mind that happened in your life and you felt like, at this point is where I felt like I really need to leave a mark, or at this point is where I felt like I need to realize what I'm actually here on earth to do? Do you have like
100%? Yeah. So I've had multiple sort of turning points, but the very first one was when I moved to Mombasa after my first year of boarding school there. Unfortunately, on the last day of school, I got dengue fever. And there was a dengue fever outbreak in Mombasa. And it was funny because on that last week, everyone on my floor got it. And I was making fun of them. I'm like, I didn't get it. I survived until the last day. And then on the last day, it got to me. And unfortunately, I had to travel back with it to Tanzania. And given the situation at the time, and it took doctors 1 week to figure out what it was. When they figured out what it was, they said my platelet counts had dropped so low that my organs could have started bleeding, and then they had to rush me into the hospital. I was admitted there for a week and eventually recovered. They made me drink this papaya or banana leaf juice, which is super disgusting. It's so bad. I had to drink that, and I hated it so much. I was telling my parents, I'm only gonna have it if you give me an M&M after. I promise it's not sponsored by M&M, but I would have it like that, and eventually I recovered. And from the point of getting discharged up to the next 3 weeks, I went into this phase where I have no recollection. But from what 3 weeks, and from what people were saying, I was basically acting hypersexual and hyperactive. I had no control over myself, and so I was doing things from singing and dancing, doing prayers in the mosque to every time we would see a girl, I would just randomly go up to her. When we go to the doctor, I remember from what people said, asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a porn star." And so I was really out of control for 3 weeks. And I wake up 3 weeks later, pull up my phone and see the date at the top of my home screen, and it says it's been 3 weeks. And I'm like, why is my phone acting up? I need to fix my calendar.
You will not remember anything.
Exactly. And so I checked the date on my phone. I try to go on social media. I'm like, something's really not adding up. I call my parents. They rush back home, and they start explaining to me some of the things that happened. And when they were explaining this to me, I'm like, I have some sort of recollection. It felt like some of these things were a dream. You know, you have some of those dreams where you're like, you finally wake up and you're like, I'm so glad that didn't happen. But for me, that dream was real. And I'm like, okay, it took me 1 or 2 weeks to fully figure out the whole situation. And unfortunately, at the time, everyone had a different theory. Doctors that treated me for dengue said that affected my brain functionality. Psychologist, we went to a psychologist. She said that she misdiagnosed me for bipolar disorder and said I went through a manic episode. My parents are religious, so we went to the Muslim priest. He thought I was possessed. We went to the Hindu priest. He thought I was possessed. We went to Christian priest. Thought I was possessed. So all of them thought I was possessed. We went to a Reiki master. She said my chakra was misaligned, and so everyone had a different theory, and I didn't know what to believe. But what
What are you feeling? What exactly?
I was confused, and I wasn't sure if that was still the dream or if I had woken up, or I was. It took me 2 weeks. I was really confused. And
This time you're still going to school.
and no, so it was a summer break, luckily. And so whilst that was happening, um, everyone had a different theory, and I didn't know what to believe. But I slowly started realizing that the facts are the facts, and I just went through that experience. And there's nothing that I can do, and I lost control of my life for 3 weeks. Moving forward, I don't want to live a life where I don't have any control, and I wanted to live more intention. For me, it felt like that was some sort of wake up call, and I got a second chance for a reason. And so at that point, I made it a point to myself that I'm gonna live a life of more purpose, a life of more intention. And I didn't know what that was yet, but I knew I wanted to be more intentional. And so right after that, that was sort of a big turning point for me to realize what I wanted to do and have that sort of wake up call.
So from that point, do you think you have a particular moment where you felt like, now after these 3 weeks, I've lost 3 weeks of my life. I think now going forward, that time you were 15, you said.
Yeah.
So going forward, when you got to your 20s, is there a time that you can stop and think that I feel at this particular point in my life, I actually made an impact in not just one life, two people, or just any impact that you made in anyone's life?
Yeah, so before I get to that, right after I went through that experience, I went back to school, and it's funny looking back because right after that I was required
Still in Mombasa. Yeah.
And so I was now in grade 10, and I was required to do a personal project. I could do anything of my choice.
Yeah.
And for me, I was looking for different ideas on things to work on, and I remember going to my Facebook feed and watching this documentary on Al Jazeera named India's Menstruation Man. I'm like, wow, I'm a 15-year-old boy. I've lived my whole life. I've never heard about this issue of menstruation. It sounds really interesting. So I call my mom. I tell her, yo, I watched this documentary.
So your mom is still in Mombasa,
Tanzania. She was in Tanzania because I was in boarding school, right?
Yeah.
And so I tell her about this documentary, and she's like, you know what? When I was younger, I went through the same experience. And there was a point in my life where I could not afford access to products, and I used to use old rags and cloth and blanket. And I'm like, wow, I just watched this documentary. My mom went through this experience. I need to do something about this. I go online, do my research, find out that 500 million people around the world are suffering from this issue. And I see different solutions out there, and I decide to start my own. And that is when I sort of started my own nonprofit called For the Menstruator, that X many years later has helped 25,000 people in 10 countries.
Wow.
And so it is obviously summarized, and there's a lot of things in the middle that happen. But when you talk about impact, and I'm like, wow, you said I've made an impact on one person's life. There have been a lot of moments like that. I remember whilst I was running my organization, one of the experiences that we had was I was writing my grade 10 exams. And in a smaller village here in Kenya, there was another group of 150 girls. They're writing their Form 4 exams. And the principal reached out to me on Facebook saying, hey, the exams are in 1 week. A lot of the girls are going to expect their period, but they don't have pads to wear. I'm worried they won't be able to write their exams.
Yeah.
And that is something that's very common. A lot of girls don't go to school when they don't have products. And so I'm like, wow, 150 girls, how am I going to get money to support them?
At that time, you had already started your organization.
Exactly. So I gathered my friends. We found a way to raise some money. We made the reusable products that we used to make, send them via bus to this small village here in Kenya, and the girls got the pads. They were able to write their exams, and they got good marks and were able to pass. And I'm like, the fact that as I'd never even met them, and the fact that I could do that, I felt so privileged that I had that opportunity. You know what I mean? And each one of us has a chance to give back. Giving back is something that anyone can do, right? It's so easy to do. But a lot of us, when we get caught up in our day-to-day, we forget that. And so there's a lot of moments like that I've experienced where I've been able to support, and not only me, but the team that we were able to make, and all the people that opened doors for us to make that possible.
At this, you're talking about this, and I'm thinking at that point, like that was 2019.
Yeah, so 2018, 2019.
At that point, you're just a young person who has decided, okay, I've seen there's a gap. Young girls, young ladies are not having sanitary towels. So I want to come up with something that is going to help girls. I'm thinking so many people are like, Ziyaan, what do you think you're doing?
Exactly.
You're not even a girl. What do you think you know?
Exactly.
So how are you able to just stay within course and just come up with a product, and for it to be able to become a big thing and even to help so many young people? How was it like for you? How did you overcome the challenges?
Yeah, it was quite tough. There were a lot of barriers. One, being a boy working in the women's reproductive space.
Yeah.
Two, being a young person trying to start this whole big thing. Three,
must have been so crazy.
Exact. Three, a lot of times, because even though I'm born here in Tanzania and I lived in Kenya, a lot of times people see me as an outsider. So there were all of these different barriers that I faced, but obviously, there were also a lot of people that opened doors and supported me, right? And for me, I knew that I found some purpose at the time through this project, and I saw it was a big issue. The issue was close to me because it was something that my mom faced when she was younger, and I knew I wanted to do something about this. And so, simple examples like getting funding in the early days. I remember going to all the richest people I know and trying to call all of them and asking them for money to support me. All of them would say, well, you're so young, why are you doing this? You're a man, why are you doing this? And I remember, for example, funding as a challenge, what we would do is we would sell shawarmas. We would buy them for 200 bob, sell them for 300 bob at our events every Friday, and we would sell 400, 500 shawarmas and raise money in that way, and then sort of start using that to make the products and so forth. So there are a lot of challenges, but luckily there are a lot of people that also believed in me, a lot of people that gave me the support, a lot of people that opened doors for me, and if it wasn't for them, none of this would have happened.
So one thing I'm hearing is that in your journey of trying to leave a mark and just have an impact in someone's life, you need people around you. You need a community, you need friends, you need mentors. So how has it been like for you when now in retrospect, thinking of the people who really supported you then and who are like, Ziyaan, go ahead, we are behind you, go ahead, we are going to support you. So do you think it is very important, and what role do you feel mentors or friends or communities play in your journey of creating impact?
100%. I think I wouldn't have gotten here if it wasn't standing on the shoulders of people that came before me, right? And I think it's when you have a mission and a purpose and you're really passionate about it, people start recognizing that. And so if you're a young person listening to this, you're like, I have this big mission, but how is it that all these people are gonna join me. You're gonna have to communicate that. You're gonna have to share your story. You're gonna have to own it and have it as something that you're super proud of.
Yeah.
And then people will start buying into that, right? And so similar to that, and I think more than that, it's you need to stop making it about yourself, but more about the cause that you're
and
working
the people
on.
that you're helping. Yeah.
Exactly, because when you make it about yourself, people will feel a certain type of way. But if you make it about the cause and put that at the center of it, people be like, you know what, this mission I resonate with. There are a lot of my friends who were girls at the time. They're like, you know what, I'm so privileged. Maybe I can support in one way or the other.
Yeah.
I can use my expertise.
Yeah.
And when you see all these people together, in the last 7 years, we've had 150 volunteers from all over the world, all young people, taking out their time, not even getting paid a single dollar, just doing it out of their goodwill. And I think that makes people feel a certain type of way.
And I think that is very profound, because I think we've mentioned this in 1 or 2 episodes here, that in your journey of becoming, in your journey of creating impact, it does not have to be about you. Because I feel, yes, I have an idea, maybe someone else has an idea, but you want it to make it we want it to look like it is ours. We're the ones who are doing it. You want to take all the glory. But in real sense, we want people to benefit from this. So this is to now make people get or stick it into their heads that when you're working out something or when you're doing something, it's not for you. Ziyaan, those pads, you're not going to use them.
Exactly.
It is for the girls. It is for so many hundreds of girls who are even benefiting right now. Yeah. Even at this point. So I want to hear your thoughts on lasting legacy. So what do you think, or how can you explain having a lasting legacy?
I think legacy, a lot of times, when people think about legacy, they think about, how can I put my name on top of a university, or how will I have a monument or a billboard of myself. The other day we were doing a radio interview and we were talking about, winning awards and winning different accolades. And a lot of times people think legacy is those are the things that we're going to be remembered for. But in reality, legacy is really about how is it that you make people feel, right? And what is that impact that you're sort of having on them? And so for me, I've obviously gone back and forth. For the longest time, I thought, menstrual health is going to be the one issue that I work on for the rest of my life, and that's the legacy I want to leave behind. But I slowly started going on my journey. There were a lot of other issues that I was passionate about: climate, youth, leadership, education. And so for me, it's not about one particular issue, but really about how is it that I can inspire the next generation of young people to start their own leadership journey, and think about how is it that no matter what age, race, gender, background you come from, if I could do it, you could do it too. And there's so many other examples of people that have done it as well. And I just want people to feel like no matter what their background is, whatever they're passionate about, they can sort of pursue that path.
And it does not have to be tied to who you are, or are you known in the society, because at that point I'm thinking you're just a foreigner. You've come to Kenya and then you're saying, I have a solution for this. People are like, this guy something is not okay with him. So this is now to tell everyone, it does not matter where you're coming from, it does not matter at which point you're starting from, as long as you have the vision, and make sure you sell that vision to people, because people are the one who are going to support you. So if I have this idea, if I have this dream, if I have this vision, if I come and communicate to you, Ziyaan, you probably will give me ideas or just strategies on how I'm going to work it out. So I want you to tell me now, if there's anyone who you feel like as Ziyaan has left a significant impact in your life and is the reason, or you look up to and you feel like if it were not for this person, I wouldn't be who I am today.
I think there's a lot of people I can think about. We have one right here in the studio that's been very instrumental in my journey. So I met Sam Dema, who was also on the tour with us during COVID, and I remember reaching out to him. I saw this Canadian. I was going to Canada for university, and there's a lot of things that I've learned from him along the journey. And it's very small things like giving without anyone knowing. His hard work, his dedication, his ability to go above and beyond, and just the kind person that he is. And so for me, he's someone I really look up to. And I feel grateful that we're currently on this tour with him, and I get to experience living with him firsthand and seeing how is it that he got to this point, and so that's someone that like the first person that came to my mind was him. And there's a lot of other people similar to that I really look up to, and have had that impact on me.
Wow, that's great. Shout out to Sam. So you mentioned a tour. So most people are wondering, what is this tour? So tell us about the tour you're having with Brian and Sam in Kenya. Just give us a bit overview of what it's.
So the tour is called Empty Your Backpack.
Yeah.
The message around Empty Your Backpack is throughout our lives, we carry a lot of different trauma, insecurities, beliefs, in this invisible backpack, invisible big red backpack on our backs, right? And the idea of Empty Your Backpack is, as you go through your journey, in order to become the person that you want to become, it's important for you to empty that, right? For me, I remember from 15 until 20, when I moved to Canada, I'd given my full self to this mission of trying to help women and girls around the world. But little did I realize that in the process of doing that, I lost myself. And there were a lot of things in my backpack that I was carrying, whether it was my mental health, my physical well-being. I had reached a point when I moved to Canada where I felt super burnt out, and I never had the opportunity to empty that backpack. And so the reason why I resonate with that message a lot is I wish when I was experiencing that, I heard that message. And the goal of this tour is, how do we share that message with 30,000 kids across Kenya, and inspire them to empty their backpack.
All right, so that's what you will be doing around.
Exactly. So we'll be going 6 weeks, 33 schools, 30,000 students, and across the way we'll be meeting amazing people like you and sharing our stories.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So I want to hear now, what do you think that there are daily habits or daily things that you do and you feel like this is what motivates me to be able to wake up and say, okay, I know it does not feel like it. I know I'm so tired, something probably is not going well in your life, in your family, but this is what keeps on pushing me. What is that one thing that you feel as Ziyaan keeps on, the minute you wake up, you're like, okay, if I'm going to do this, let me just wake up and do it. Doing it tired, doing it afraid. What is that one thing?
Yeah, for full transparency, I wish I could give you that one thing. And I know it's like everyone's looking for that secret, you know what I mean? But in different phases of my life, there are different things that have worked. I've had phases where, I've woken up and had a morning routine and do X, Y, and Z, meditate, workout, journal, and night do the same thing. But currently the phase that I'm at is I'm honestly just experiencing like being present and just kind of going with the flow. And sometimes that's needed, right? I feel like a lot of times I think structure is really great. And structure has really helped me at different phases in my life to build momentum, to build a virtuous cycle, to build good habits. But there are times where you really need to step back and think about what is it that you really want to do. So right now I'm in that phase of my whole life I've always chased one thing after the other. When it was after I went through that experience, I was trying to chase that next thing to make myself find some sense of purpose. That led me to get so many opportunities. And then I was chasing getting a scholarship so that I can leave Kenya and go abroad. I got that scholarship. When I went there, I was chasing, trying
something
to
else,
exactly. And so my whole life I've been reactive, and right now I'm at this phase where I've decided to take a step back and really just experience and just listen and figure out who I really am. And lots of people don't give you that advice, right? We're always running after that next thing. Just go get it. But it's really important for you to take a step back and really think about how is it that you can be proactive. And that's the phase that I'm in. And it's been hard to embrace that because I'm so used to structure. I've been in an education system that gives you structure throughout your life. And in all the work that I do have that structure, but now I'm sort of just kind of going with that flow and trying to figure out who I am and who is the type of person that I want to become.
And I think whatever you said is so profound. I'm reminded of the episode we did last episode. We were talking about graceful grit. And the guest we had here was just trying to unpack and just tell us that yes, we want to be go-getters. Yes, we want to do this thing. Yes, we want to achieve this. You want to do this by the time you're 21. You want to get a job. So many things. But you need to be graceful to yourself. And just as you've said, yes, there are so many things to be achieved. Like right now when you sit, there's so many things that you want to do before you get like 30, But if you're not showing grace to yourself, and showing grace to yourself looks like telling yourself, okay, I think I have done this. Let me take a break. Let me just sit and relax because your well-being is also at stake. Your mental wellness is also at stake. So being graceful to yourself means, yes, I want to achieve this, but at this point, I think I'm not in a mental capacity to like handle everything. Let me just sit down, relax, and see how well can I, how can I take care of my wellness? Yeah.
Exactly. And taking care of your wellness is not necessarily just sitting in your couch and watching Netflix
Yeah,
all
yeah,
day, right?
yeah, yeah.
Or like splurging on money, or like,
Yeah.
that is, I feel like sometimes when we think of wellness, we think, oh, it's all of those things. For me, I am thinking about wellness as being more intentional about, in this phase of my life, I want to learn and I want to figure out what my next move is. And so how am I going to do that? I'm going to talk to people that are doing things that I'm interested in. I'm going to sit down and write down what my thoughts are. What is it that I'm struggling with? Why is it that I'm feeling like this? So I'm being very intentional even about how I'm taking a step back, and it's not just
Idle
sitting down
yeah,
and doing
yeah,
nothing. I feel
yeah.
like that's not the message that I want to give out.
Yeah.
But allowing yourself to do that and giving yourself the space to do that is very important.
And being intentional. Intentionality
Exactly.
is the word.
Exactly.
All right. So any advice at the top of your head for someone who's watching this episode and is like, okay, I think I want to start to leave a mark, but where do I start? I think I have this idea. I don't know how to go about it. I'm probably young, probably as young when you were, still in Mombasa. So what would you tell this young person who is watching this?
There's a lot of things that I could say. I think first, being young is the biggest advantage that you have.
Yeah.
We're seeing that right now with what's happening in the country.
True.
Being young, we have so much time, and that allows us to be involved in as many things, try out different passion, without having the responsibility to, let's say, necessarily pay your bills or take care of a family or pay rent, for example. So
Yeah.
I've always seen being young as an advantage. And when you're young, if you see a lot of the headlines that I got when I was running my nonprofit, 17-year-old Ziyaan Virji does X, Y, and Z. 18-year-old Ziyaan, 15-year-old, you know what I mean? And so being young, people want to give you a chance, people want to give you an opportunity and leverage that, use that as an advantage, right? We have so much time, we have we have the opportunity to fail, we have the opportunity to try out different things. So use being young as an advantage. Second, think about your purpose. A lot of people live their whole lives not knowing their why and what their purpose is, and there's a lot of frameworks that you can go online and research and figure out what your purpose is, and ask yourself, what is your why? What is the legacy you want to leave behind? How is it that you want people to remember you? And then the last thing I would say is, my whole messaging right now is, we're not only leaders of tomorrow, but we're leaders of today.
Yeah.
When I was younger, in grade 3, I used to submit my math homework late, and my grade 3 teacher always used to say, tomorrow never comes. And that sort of always stuck with me throughout my life. And whilst I was going through my journey of building my nonprofit, a lot of people would be like, oh, young people are the leaders of tomorrow. But I believe tomorrow never comes. And so if you're a young person and you have something that you're passionate about, you want to become a sports person, an artist, an entrepreneur, an activist, whatever it may be, don't wait until tomorrow to start it. Start today, because we're not only leaders of tomorrow, we're leaders of today. And that's what I'll let everyone remember as piece of advice.
Do it today. Do it now. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. Yeah? So, looking back or thinking back at maybe your 15-year-old self or 18-year-old self, what is that one piece of advice that you think you know now, but you didn't know then? So, what is that one thing that you will tell yourself, or one thing you wish you knew then?
I think for me, the advice I'll give myself is really think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and what that would be. My version of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, at the very bottom is your people, and then your body, and then yourself. And so when I was going through my journey, there were a lot of points in my life where I don't need people. I have this mission, I'm going to do it all by myself, and I'm going to work towards this. You know what I mean? But and there are a lot of points where I lost a lot of relationships that were close to me, and I didn't maintain those. So think about who your people are and who are you surrounding yourself with. Think about your body, your physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental well-being. I think I lost that as I gave myself towards this purpose, and I burnt out. And then lastly, think about yourself, right? And if you do all those things, working towards your mission is gonna be very easy. And as great as it is to give yourself fully towards something, don't forget those fundamentals, which I think in hustle culture is usually missed out on.
All right, I think I've loved what you said about environment because, Zian, honestly speaking, you can know what you want to do. You can be so convicted about something that you want to do and have your vision or purpose, but the people around you are like really suffocating you. You know, they don't believe in you. One, they are not supportive. They don't think you will amount to anything. So it's very important, even as you're trying to build your legacy, even as you're trying to create impact, make sure that you surround yourself with people that see the value in you. Because if, as you've mentioned, if probably some didn't see the potential in you then, maybe or maybe not, you wouldn't be here at this point,
Exactly.
yeah? So just surrounding yourself with people that see the value that we have in us. So, Zian, in the next 10 or 5 years, what do you want to be remembered for?
So
3 things that you want when people mention Zian. These are the 3 things that come to their minds.
So yeah, I didn't get to talk a lot about this, but right now I am working on my company Leaders of Today, and primarily what we do is inspire young people to be leaders of today. And so with that, we have a podcast of our own. We have a newsletter with 50,000 plus subscribers. We have a consulting agency that we help other brands and organizations to do the same thing. And reason why I mentioned that is right now I really in the next 5 or 10 years, what I want to be remembered for is really being someone that's authentic, someone that's honest, and someone that's kind. And I think it's great to have all the experiences that I had as an early age, whether it's getting media or winning awards around the world or getting to travel. But really, what's the things that I remember the most is how people make me feel, and the type of person that I make others feel. And I think that's what I really want to be remembered for. Someone that's kind, someone that's authentic, and someone that's honest and makes people feel good.
And I think Maya Angelou says something that people won't remember what you are or what you did, but they will remember how you made
Make
them
them feel.
Yeah. So in everything that you keep on doing, just make sure that if today this conversation, Zian, when you leave here feeling like Shalom made a difference, or Shalom said something and I was so happy about it, or it made an impact in my life. Yeah. So I want us to go back and talk about at that time when you're still trying to come up with the company, with the whole pads and
Yeah.
so what is one challenge that you faced and how did you get through it, or how did you come out of it?
Um, there are a lot of challenges that I faced.
Yeah.
I mentioned funding being a big issue at the time.
How did you get your funding then?
So as I mentioned, we started selling shawarmas in the early days.
So that's what
that
financed the
was
whole
what
thing.
we started off
For
with.
real?
And after we started building some credibility and putting
Yeah.
ourselves out there and getting media for our work and different awards, once we had credibility, then we would host fundraising events where we'd sell tickets. But our big source of funding was sponsorships, and so we worked with a lot of brands and organizations, one of them being Diamond Trust Bank. In total, they've given us, I think, over like 5 million shillings
Wow.
here in Kenya.
Wow.
And the way it worked was we went to them, we're a young organization. We have this mission, we have done X, Y, and Z, and we love X amount of money, and in return, we can put your logos on our pads, we'll market you, we'll do that whole thing. And so that was a big sort of way we overcame things.
Is that initiative still going on?
So for the menstruator, I'm not as involved anymore.
Yeah.
But we have a great team and different chapters around the world. We've scaled down and toned down a lot, especially after I went through my phase of burnout. But I still think it's an important issue, and we have amazing young people around the world that are running the organization.
And I think you said you've talked about burnout. So this is just to tell or make sure everyone gets in their head that in this journey of trying to leave a mark, you will get burnout. Yeah, it gets to a time where you feel like you don't think you can do it. But now that is the importance of having community and having people who trust in your vision, because even without you being there, Zian, it's still going on, right?
Yeah.
The people who are still carrying that vision. So have people that buy into your vision, right?
And when we talk about burnout, for the longest time, I used to think burnout is you physically not being able to do any work anymore, right?
Yeah.
But I think burnout is really, you reach burnout when you don't feel as passionate or connected to the issue that you're working towards. And a lot of times I think it's okay to take a step back. I feel like there are a lot of moments where I was overextending myself and trying to push myself, even though I didn't feel as connected to the issue. And I think what it takes to be a great leader is to take a step back when you know it's not for you and it's not working. And for me, burning out and spending the time for myself and doing what I needed to do now has allowed me to start my own new company and working towards it and being super successful with that and being intentional about it.
But what is that one thing that when you want to leave, or what is your final thoughts as we wind up on this episode?
Yeah, my final thoughts are, if you're a young person and you're listening to this, I know it probably feels like, how am I gonna have this highly produced podcast like Shalom? How am I gonna start this global organization or start this big company? How am I gonna be this award-winning X, Y, and Z? But honestly, a lot of that is smokes and mirrors. We're all going through our own struggles and insecurities, and we're all just trying to make it, and we're all just trying to figure it out. And so, as much as it may seem like, it's all roses and butterflies and rainbows, in reality, if you're going through something, address it and don't feel like you're alone. And then also just be intentional about it, and eventually, if that's something that you're passionate about, really just take small steps, and eventually you'll get there, and you have people like me and Shalom that are always willing to help. And so don't feel like you're alone. I think that's the message that I like to leave.
You're not alone. Love that, love that. I think I don't have any other thing to add. It was such an amazing episode. Thank you very much, Ziyaan, for just pouring your heart out and just being so open and candid in sharing with us. So guys, we'll see you next Friday. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, and that's it for today. Bye bye.